in San Jose. I also record my deep admiration for the hard work of the government of Costa Rica in its capacity as President pro tempore of CELAC for the past year. Among the achievements of Costa Rica's leadership was the first CELAC China Forum in Beijing a few weeks ago. The link that has been created between China and CELAC members is an important opportunity for the countries of the South to cooperate in trade, finance, and in international relations in ways that can improve the well-being of all of our nations. We must establish that link firmly and strengthen and deepen it. Importantly, we must also agree to deepen and strengthen relations among all CELAC members in our own interests. For too long, our countries have been manipulated, cajoled, and coerced into serving the interests of others, many times at the loss of our autonomy and our rights as sovereign states. CELAC offers us the chance to defend ourselves from the adventures of external economic and political forces. It also provides a mechanism for us, collectively, to fashion a different international architecture in which our countries are not marginalized and in which we assert our rights. In this connection, I call on all member states of CELAC to recommit themselves to this organization as an instrument for joint action in the global community in our mutual interest. We should work toward a situation in which we work closely in matters of achieving fair and just trade, reform of the international financial architecture, energy security, and developing science and technology that gives us less reliance on those who hold us to ransom. In this connection, my government records its profound gratitude to the government and people of Venezuela, who stood with us and many other countries in the period of the global financial crisis to ensure that we had adequate supplies of petroleum products on terms that allowed us to subsist. Petrocaribe was and remains an important lifeline for many of our economies, and we deeply appreciate it. As the economy of Venezuela experiences challenges, Antigua and Barbuda calls on all CELAC members to stand in solidarity with the Venezuelan government and people. Chairman, Antigua and Barbuda welcomes the decision of the government of Cuba and the United States of America to establish diplomatic relations. We are delighted that the anachronistic and failed policy of the United States government of isolating Cuba is in the process of ending, but remain concerned that the formal trade embargo of Cuba by the United States remains codified in extraterritorial laws. In this regard, we call on CELAC members to urge the U.S. Congress to rescind the trade embargo against Cuba and to normalize all relations in the interests of the stability and well-being of the hemisphere. Chairman, terrorism has become a scourge on the face of the earth. The terrorist tactics of ISIL, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram are despicable. We must condemn them vigorously and stand against terrorism wherever it occurs, as we do those that occur in the United States, United Kingdom, and France. But it is worth recalling that the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, based at the University of Maryland, has revealed that in 2012, terrorism touched 85 countries, and just 3, Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan, suffered more than half of the attacks and fatalities. The next 5 most frequently targeted countries were India, Nigeria, Somalia, Yemen, and Thailand. Terrorism is not occurring only in Western countries. In this connection, we must also take action within our own domestic jurisdictions and in collaboration with our regional neighbors to stamp out terrorism wherever it might arise within our boundaries. Colleagues, heads of state and government, various issues we confront at this meeting are not new, but some of them have gained greater practical urgency, and we should tackle them forcefully. It is right that we should not take at once the full gamut of issues that plague our nations. We know that unemployment, violent crime, illicit drugs, the adverse effects of climate change and global warming are all pressing issues. Each of our governments, in our domestic situations, and in other organizations is addressing these problems as best we can with limited resources and in an unhelpful international setting. It is right, therefore, that in CELAC we should focus our attention on a narrow range of critical issues where our collaboration can produce effective results. The most immediate are reducing extreme poverty, providing food security, generating meaningful employment, especially for our young people and women, and reform of the international financial architecture to bring about fairness and balance. Success in tackling these challenges will strengthen our capacity for dealing effectively with others. As we all know, global food security continues to be a major concern for the international community. The extraordinary rise of global food prices in early 2008 posed a major threat to global food and nutrition security and caused a host of humanitarian, human rights, socioeconomic, environmental, developmental, political, and security-related consequences. Within the CARICOM region, our countries are now spending almost $5 billion per annum in imported food. Our problem, however, has an added dimension. It is true that we have the capacity within our region to satisfy a large percentage of our food needs, but we lack the modern shipping that is required to transport food from one country to another. In this vein, while I applaud the efforts of the Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO, and other regional and international organizations in addressing the issue of food security, nutrition, and hunger, practical proposals, including financing, that would help CELAC countries transport food from one and to each other would be most welcome. My colleagues, as we continue to grapple with the economic challenges which resulted from the 2008 economic crisis, all our countries have been dampened by global market instability. Many of our member states have been burdened with high debt. Additionally, the demands of OECD countries have caused us to spend large sums of money on regulation of the financial sector that is disproportionate to any risk posed by our financial institutions. We have also been coerced into becoming the tax collectors of the other countries in the name of best practices and so-called international standards in whose formulation we had little input. Beyond all this, the international financial institutions continue to be the handmaidens of a small number of countries in defiance of the principles of democracy and fairness. The small states, such as ours in the Caribbean community, are denied access to concessional financing, and we are subject to the onerous conditionalities that take no account of our vulnerabilities, including the effects of climate change. In remarkable doublespeak, our small countries are said to have graduated from concessional financing because of the artificial calculation of one factor only, that is the per capita income. This policy denies small, highly indebted middle-income countries, a large number of which are members of CELAC, reduced access to concessionary funding to pursue their social and economic developmental goals in a world where options for economic advancement are already diminishing. I wish to signal now that this is one of the issues that our incoming president, my brother Rafael Correa, must ensure is included in the agenda of CELAC's work on financial architecture. The smaller members of CELAC need the support of all member states to rectify this overwhelming wrong. When we meet once more, with other world leaders at the 3rd International Conference on Financing for Development, which is to be held in Addis, Ethiopia in July 2015, we, the members of CELAC, must advocate for our interests collectively. I urge that we agree to the formation of working groups now that would prepare us for collective and unified positions in Ethiopia. We can succeed in bringing about change that we all need, but only by being sensitive to each other's needs and by working in solidarity. Together, we have the chance of success, and certainly divided, we will surely fail. Our region is rich in natural resources, gold, silver, oil, diamonds, bauxite, and most importantly, in human capital. Yet these resources will not count for much without our ability to remain united and committed to our development. I therefore urge all colleagues to stand together in support of the noble goals and outcomes that we seek. My colleagues, let us make this summit in Costa Rica the defining moment of our unshakable alliance in the interests of our peoples. And finally, I take this opportunity to wish President Pepe a happy retirement, and I thank him for his contribution to CELAC and to the hemisphere. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Muchas gracias, señor Primer Ministro. Ahora toca la palabra a Su Excelencia Samuel Hines de Guyana. Mr. Hines, Excellency, you have the floor.